IVM.
You know what's the biggest advantage of being like close friends with someone for more than 20 years?
You have a happy, fulfilling relationship and amazing emotional support.
No. It's the fact that we can just like talk shit about people from across the room and not say a word
Yeah.
and no one would know a thing.
That's actually true. I think in the last 20 odd years, hating on people has straight up bonded us for life. And I know that makes us sound really old and sad, but it is what we are now. And we've done it so often that we just kind of know what the other person is thinking at this point.
I know. And I absolutely love you for that.
Oh, I love you too.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really glad that you're there. So we can like drag people for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Otherwise, I would have to go on national TV.
Giuseppe.
Have you ever wondered why women don't do more crime? Well, we're here to tell you. There's misconduct all the time. Women are thieves and murderers.
That's gross misconduct.
Con artists, money launderers.
Criminal misconduct.
Financial fraud that's hard to track.
Takes some planning, but still misconduct.
Even breaching a contract.
Well, that's more civil though.
It's misconduct. Misconduct. We tell you all about women that suck. Things that make you say, what the? It's misconduct.
Hello, and welcome to Misconduct. We are a podcast on which we talk about Indian women that did some illegal or unethical things. My name is Raghavi.
And I am Nisha. And today we will be talking about a fan favorite, one that we have been asked to do for a very long time now. And it is Kangana Ranaut.
Yeah, finally.
The 34-year-old Bollywood actress, producer, and filmmaker who is best known for her more recent roles aimed at strong female representation in Indian cinema, for winning 4 national awards, for also being awarded the Padma Shri, which is one of India's highest civilian awards for excellence in various fields, including the arts and cinema.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Hey, Kangana Ranaut is annoying sometimes and she does spew some hateful things. She also says some dumb, non-scientific nonsense at times, but she hasn't done anything illegal, right?
Well, not yet, at least. Because today we are talking about a complaint filed against Kangana in Mumbai for allegedly making defamatory statements against Javed Akhtar, also a part of the Bollywood film industry, but for much, much longer. He's like 76 years old. He was born in India when it was still British India.
Yeah.
He's a renowned poet, lyricist, screenwriter, and a political activist. In July 2020, in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, a young Bollywood actor by the name Sushant Singh Rajput passed away, and the police investigation and autopsy ruled it as a suicide. His death was mourned by many, including the Bollywood fraternity. However, it also became a media circus with many conspiracy theories floating around about him, his mental illnesses, his alleged use of recreational drugs, his family, friends, partners, his relationships with established Bollywood old-timers. So, in the midst of all this was Kangana, who turned up on national TV to announce that Sushant Singh Rajput's death was largely caused by friction between him and these established Bollywood producers and screenwriters. In particular, Kangana's allegations focused on filmmakers Karan Johar, Mahesh Bhatt, along with Javed Akhtar.
So Kangana also made additional allegations that the industry had blacklisted her, mostly for speaking against nepotism. This is essentially where kids of already established celebrities were being offered roles that, other actors could only dream of. Also, in 2016, a fellow actor and her former co-star Hrithik Roshan filed a lawsuit against Kangana for cyber stalking and harassment. Kangana filed a countersuit stating that she and Hrithik were in fact in a relationship prior to the suit, and he merely filed it to draw attention away from his divorce proceedings. Also, Kangana alleged in the middle of all of this, very casually she alleged, that Javed Akhtar had called her to his home and threatened her to leave Hrithik's family alone.
And with all of that in mind, Javed Akhtar proceeded to file a criminal complaint for defamation against Kangana.
And that was just the summary.
Yep.
It was so long.
We are just getting started, but let's add our usual disclaimers. This is a true crime podcast. This episode will discuss themes like suicide, extramarital affairs, threats of bodily harm, and of course, defamation. Podcast is not suitable for children. Listener discretion is advised.
So here are a few basic things that you must know. Actually, a few people that you must know specifically before we really get into this episode. And these people are Kangana, of course, the alleged perpetrator, Javed Akhtar, the alleged victim, Arnab Goswami, who is an Indian journalist and news anchor. And I use both those designations very loosely. He is also the managing director and editor-in-chief of Republic Media Network, which is a news conglomerate in India. And again, I use the word news very loosely as well. The other person you should know is Karan Johar. He is a Bollywood filmmaker, producer, businessman, TV show host, part-time actor, and full-time gossip monger. So Karan Johar is the son of Yash Johar, an Indian producer who established Dharma Films, which is the brand under which Karan Johar also makes movies. Now, Karan has been in the industry for decades and he's worked with all of the top actors and actresses of his time, essentially. He is rich and he is influential.
Very nice.
Next person you should know, we mentioned this earlier, Hrithik Roshan. He is a leading Bollywood actor. He's known for his charming smile, his dancing skills, and he's also known as a man who utterly detests wearing shirts.
None of us are complaining.
None of us. I actually encourage this behavior. So Hrithik may or may not have had an affair with Kangana when they were filming for their movie Krish 3. Of course, many heated words.
Which begs the question,
no.
Where is Krish 2?
It doesn't exist. I think we have to now just absorb that and move on. In any case, Hrithik and Kangana may have had an affair when they were filming for this movie. They also exchanged many heated words between, both Hrithik and Kangana have said a lot of things about each other. The last one, of course, is Sushant Singh Rajput, who was a critically acclaimed Indian actor who tragically passed away in June 2020 at his home in Mumbai. So his postmortem report had ruled it a case of suicide with no suspected foul play. However, a few weeks after his death, his alleged former girlfriend, Riya Chakrabarti, her family and some friends were all investigated for abetment of his suicide. Multiple allegations surfaced around them after this, including money laundering and drug peddling, and many, many Bollywood actors were pulled into this mania, and the country was just transfixed by this. It was dramatic, it was sensational, and luckily it took away from other news that the Indian government was, mismanaging their COVID-19 response. And also there were several caste violence cases that had come up during these months. So it took a lot of attention away from those sorts of things. And this was really all anybody talked about for a very long time.
Yeah, it really was. And I invite you all to look very closely at this case, if only for the sheer lack of usable information around this.
Oh, yeah.
It will frustrate you to no end. But yeah, anyway, as of October 2020, the Central Bureau of Investigation still appears to be investigating Sushant's death.
Right. And also there's a reason we're generally using the words alleged and maybe so many times across this whole stretch. None of this, any of this really, has been proven, especially all the allegations in relation to Sushant Singh Rajput. It was all a giant media phenomenon for a few months back in 2020, back when, of course, COVID-19 was raging through the country. Yeah. Millions had lost their jobs. Millions more were displaced, and there were major supply issues for basic goods and services across the country. Not that they're related, they just happened at the same time. That's all. But there is one phenomenal thing that came out of this ordeal, and that was when Arnab Goswami decided to have Kangana on his show on Republic TV in July 2020.
Ah, yes, of course. So Arnab hosts a show called The Nation Wants to Know. Surprise, surprise. Which is where this whole case kind of starts. But before that, let's talk a little bit about Kangana herself. So she was born on 23rd March 1987 in a small town in the state of Himachal Pradesh, India. We know a lot about her early life because, she's a famous person now. So you guys have Google, go look it up. For now, all you need to know is that she was a youngling. At the age of about 16 is when she moved to Delhi from her small town and she started a career in modeling. However, she disliked that career choice very quickly and instead opted to participate in theatre workshops in Delhi.
Oh, dude, Delhi's theatre scene is amazing. As in there are so many thespians, just casually doing their thing across the city. And it's just so chill and nonchalant. Like, I'm not a big fan of Delhi generally, but if I could visit, I would quickly watch like 6 plays and then come back home.
Oh, that actually sounds pretty fun. Although I would definitely stop by for like some 700 plates of some street whatever because the food is insane.
Actually, I do love that about Delhi too. I
yes,
forgot.
yes.
Also, they have great historical. You know what? I think I kind of like Delhi foods.
Wow. So back to Kangana. A few months after her, kind of stepping into the theater workshop zone, she felt like emboldened by her stint and she decided to move to Mumbai to pursue acting full time. So between 2004 and 2006, Kangana saw some moderate success as an actress, often being cast in very dramatic movies where she would play a damsel in distress character.
Right.
Honestly, all of these movies seem just the same to me. In 2007-8, Kangana played some supporting roles in critically acclaimed movies like Life in a Metro and Fashion. In the years after, she would experience some ups and downs in her acting career, but it wasn't that big a deal because she was relatively young.
Right.
In 2014, she starred in the coming-of-age movie Queen, where she played this jilted fiancée who decides to go on a honeymoon on her own. So this movie is very beloved and it kind of effectively blew her up into stardom. Primarily because she was the sole leading actor and a female one who managed to carry the whole movie on her back. From then to today, Kangana has experimented heavily with female-led roles in movies. If you remember our episode on former Chief Minister Jayalalitha and Sasikala, well, Kangana played Jayalalitha in the movie Taleve. We have many thoughts on it. If you are interested in listening, please go back to the episode. It was a role which was, obviously sought after. So good for her.
Yeah, I actually want to give her props for that because first of all, she was an outsider, but yet she picked a slew of movies that, let her shine over all the other actors,
Yeah.
And that happens so rarely in general for actresses. So I think that's a very smart move, especially if you want to establish yourself in the industry. So good for her on that.
Yeah. In 2013, Kangana was invited to an interview with journalist Anupama Chopra, where she commented on the nepotism in the film industry. So she's maintained this position, stating that gender bias also played a major role in casting in movies,
Right.
all of which are true. And this is just our humble opinion.
Oh,
What we've seen so far, we don't know how the inner workings of Bollywood works.
good job.
So what we've seen so far is if you're a star kid and you're also a dude, then you'll be okay. If
Yeah.
you're not a star kid and you're a woman,
Just all
You
of the
just-
worst things.
it's like, aha, oho, yuck. So you have to struggle just 20x times just to star as an extra.
That's true. And you likely have to do other stuff on the side, modeling, work in
Oh, okay.
the service industry, stuff that is not what you really came to do.
Yeah, when you said other stuff on the side, I got a little scared. But
No,
yeah.
no. I mean,
Modeling, yes.
although that is a reality, we can't just.
I know. That's true.
Yeah, that's fair.
So in 2017, Kangana was on Karan Johar's talk show, Coffee with Karan. She said on this show that Karan was, and I quote, the flag bearer of nepotism. More specifically, she was talking about how difficult it was for her to get the professional position that she was in now. And she declared that people like Karan were not helpful in the process at all. She even told Karan, in my biopic, you will play the stereotypical Bollywood biggie who is snooty and intolerant to outsiders and a flag bearer of nepotism, the movie mafia.
Ooh.
Yep,
And how
yep,
did Karan Johar take this?
Oh, he's very mature. He handled it. No. Karan retorted in a later interview by asking Kangana to leave the industry and not play
Yikes.
the victim card. Right. And he said this in a roundtable discussion at the freaking London School of Economics.
Who asked?
Yeah.
No, actually, knowing him, he would have volunteered.
Of course. He also wrote a blog. Yes, a blog in this day and age. But yeah, in this blog entry, he said that, the business is a commercial one. And if star kids get him the money, then why not?
So he accepted that his actions constitute nepotism.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, indeed he did. Except I think he thinks he made some big point about the opposite. But this was just, everyone's just looking at him. There's crickets in the background, uncle.
Oh, no.
But yeah, Kangana and Karan would go on to have a public feud over this for a while. In the 2017 IFA Awards, Karan Johar and actors Varun Dhawan and Saif Ali Khan all turned up on the stage to scream out the words, nepotism rocks.
Oh, what? They actually did that?
Yeah, I actually don't care that much about Bollywood at all. it's just not my interest. But I remember seeing this and thinking, guys, let's get it together.
The cringe factor is really, high there. But the thing is, Kangana has received a lot of flack for talking about nepotism, especially from Bollywood insiders. There are several star kids that are the product of nepotism themselves, right? Like Alia Bhatt and Varun Dhawan, and they've openly mocked her views. There are several interviews, video and otherwise of this stuff. You just literally have to Google it and you'll find it. And there are many other celebrities that have actually spoken out against nepotism, like Huma Qureshi, Prachi Desai, Tapsi Pannu, somehow all women, to name a few. But the thing is, they were not treated as badly by the media or, by the Bollywood biggies like Karan Johar. So all of this, the way the feud sort of went down, it was really in very bad taste.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that Bollywood doesn't seem to understand is sometimes you cannot win. So you should just let it go. And I think that's what this whole nepotism argument comes down to. If you had, and you would know this, Nisha, if you had an active PR team, they would say, listen, just stop talking now.
Yeah, I'm sure most of these guys have a PR team. I have no idea. Unless, see, the thing is, there are a lot of and this I know from a bunch of people who've handled PR for certain big production houses and things like that. They look for the weirdest things to promote when you have nothing to promote. They will literally be like, oh, in Big Boss, there was one person who maybe had lice. Do you want to do a story on it? It's that bad. Yeah. And by the way, I'm not even making this up as an example.
Oh.
This is legit that someone pitched that I know.
So just scraping the bottom of the barrel to get anything out there, basically.
So I guess, I don't know, maybe they were like, aha, we are getting some views. Please continue to talk your shit.
Yeah, we're just getting, it's all about the views, right? There's no such thing as bad publicity at the end of the day. So
I guess.
I get it. But yeah, Kangana's words somehow also received a lot of social media love though. Because I think this is sort of the turning tide of where people were also looking at nepotism generally in Bollywood and thinking, hey, is she kind of right? And especially after the 2017 IFA wars, like you said, social media in general, especially users felt that Kangana was actually being discriminated against for just speaking the truth.
Yeah.
And that's how Kangana really started to gain her cult following. Millions of Bollywood fans and social media users sort of looked at her as a truth teller, someone who wouldn't mince words, especially when the rest of Bollywood was shrouded in aggressive PR and self-marketing. And Kangana really took this to heart. In fact, I fully believe her when she says she's been discriminated against, because I watched another earlier Coffee with Karan interview from 2010, where she was obviously much younger. And on the show, she was with veteran actors Sanjay Dutt and Anil Kapoor. These are all, by the way, there are 3 men along with Karan Johar, 3 men in their 40s and 50s, all with a 20-something rising actress. Okay. So that's already... Yeah. And then Karan Johar outrightly asks her if she's had any cosmetic work done. And Kangana, God bless her for this, she acts all coy and she asks Karan Johar right back, what kind of work do you mean? Can you please be more precise? And Anil Kapoor butts in to clarify, hey, he means Botox. It was so weird.
Yeah, and it's quite an uncomfortable conversation. And it's worsened by the fact that it just goes on for a while. The whole interview is so uncomfortable. The way they treat her, like she's some piece of art to be stared at and not like a real human being with feelings.
God. And you know what? It's so telling because this interview, even though it's, Coffee with Karan generally puts up episodes on YouTube, this interview is not even available on YouTube. Do you know where I found it? I found it on the subreddit Bolly Blinds and Gossip. Which took me to Twitter where someone had posted a clip of that interview. And okay, you know what? I'll credit to Bolly Blinds and Gossip. I'm going to list them as an actual source for this particular episode. It's a treasure trove of information like this. The moderators do a great job sourcing this information. So props to them.
Fantastic. I like that this is where you're getting your information from.
You know what? Judge me all you want. I'm subscribed to that subreddit.
I don't, man. Everyone enjoys different things, so it's fine. I used to follow a bunch of obscure Tom Hiddleston subreddits for a very, very long time. There was one for just his arm. So
which arm?
Left, I think.
Oh. It is a good one.
So I get it. In any case, the industry, especially Karan Johar, has always given Kangana a very hard time for just existing in her own space. Even her accent was made fun of, and I'm given to understand that she was so uncomfortable with this that she hired a dialect coach to help her with her English. And she received media training, which, okay, media training I understand because a lot of companies also do it.
Right.
But someone has to teach you to speak English properly just because other people are shaming you for it. That's just like, what the hell, man?
That's awful. Yeah.
So, yeah, which is why I personally believe that Karan Johar created this monster all on his own and he has only himself to blame.
I agree as well. Oh, also, before we proceed, one quick thing. Let's quickly understand what defamation means. So, defamation is a crime in India. So, under section 499 of the Indian Penal Code, yes, we are back to the Indian Penal Code.
Yay! It's been a while.
It has been, whoa, have we not done actual crimes in a while?
Have we not done crimes in a while? No, we have not.
Oh, correct. Correct. So under section 499 of the Indian Penal Code, whoever, either by words spoken or intended to be read, so written basically, or even, through signs or visible representations, either makes or publishes any imputation concerning a person and that intends to lead to some harm, knowing that the imputation will cause some harm. The whole idea being that the reputation of that person is basically defamed. And the idea behind this is, it's actually really simple. Say or do or show something that harms another person and defames them. And defamation falls into two categories. Slander, which is a defamatory statement that is made, in a verbal form, which is usually spoken.
Yes. For example, if I say on this podcast that Raghavi dresses like a grandma, then that's an oral statement and that would be slander.
Yeah, I mean, it's a solid example, I suppose. The other category, aside from slander, is libel, which is a defamatory statement that is actually published in a written form.
So another example,
Okay.
if I take out an ad in a national newspaper stating that Raghavi dresses like a grandma, and then Photoshop Raghavi's face on an actual grandma.
What?
This would be published. Therefore, this is libel.
This is so suspiciously specific. Cool. Now the thing with defamation is, if it's actually proved to be true, the thing that you're saying or writing about another person, it's obviously no longer defamation because the thing actually happened. So you're not making it up to harm someone's reputation. So a solid defense for defamation is it actually the truth? If yes, then there's nothing to defame.
Aha. So in this case, when I say Raghavi dresses like a grandma, I am in fact telling the truth. And it is therefore neither libel nor slander.
I mean, it is accurate. Grandma chic is in, all right? It is what it is. And it's comfortable. We're in a pandemic. Let me be. Also, the punishment for defamation is simple imprisonment for a term that may extend up to 2 years, or fine, or both.
But you know what doesn't feel like imprisonment? Listening to some of the amazing shows on IVM that advertise with us. So when we come back, what did Kangana even say that we're talking about all of this?
Namaste, this is Cyrus Brocha. I am part of the government cancel culture program to remove rubbish off all the different streams available. So what we have is all the collected rubbish we put together on our show. It's called Cyrus Says. It's on IVM podcast. You have to watch it and listen to it. It's on our app. It's on our website. It's on the YouTube channel. It's on Facebook. There are many different ways. Don't bother me and ask me how. You have to find out. We talk to different personalities. Many of them are known. Some are just people we meet downstairs and invite them up for chai. But the point is, it's fun and it's very therapeutic. So please join in and listen to Cyrus Says.
Welcome back after the break. So we did a brief review earlier of all the major characters in the story. Now let's get to the actual story. Finally. So as we mentioned before, Kangana had major beef with Bollywood's top producers and filmmakers, specifically Karan Johar, for multiple reasons. Primarily because they leaned on nepotism, sort of to push star kids to the forefront, which automatically meant that other struggling actors that probably have, more talent and charisma were probably being ignored. A righteous crusade in my eyes.
Yes,
but did she do it in the way that would be considered appropriate? I don't know. Let's find out. So with that in mind, let's actually do a rundown of an interview that Kangana gave on Arnab Goswami's TV show, which is called Nation Wants to Know.
Of course it is.
Of course. So on the show in July 2020, remember this is a few weeks right after Sushant Singh Rajput's death. So in July 2020, this is all everybody was talking about. Kangana went on the show to talk sort of extensively about how Karan Johar and filmmaker Mahesh Bhatt were basically pushing her to leave Bollywood.
Yeah.
So she made a series of allegations against the two, specifically stating that their actions were part of why Sushant Singh Rajput's movies were not doing well, which in turn pushed him towards mental illness. These are actual words she says. We will quote some of this a little later. But more specifically, she said that these people were actively involved in destroying Sushant's career for various reasons. And she even goes so far as to call them besharam or shameless in Hindi. And the thing is, that in itself is largely vague enough. So you would not get into much trouble. It's not that specific, right? But Kangana doesn't stop there.
Why would she?
Of course. She goes on to say that Mahesh Bhatt got in the way of Riya Chakrabarti and Sushant for reasons that are unclear and they're not really clarified over the course of the interview. And I have also not read anything else to confirm this.
Yeah.
But as soon as she says that, she starts talking about herself right after. And that's where she sort of gets into a mess. She says that no one will question Mahesh Bhatt or Karan Johar for these actions because of Javed Akhtar. And she specifically calls this gang of these three members headed by Javed Akhtar as the suicide gang.
Fair, I guess. But Kangana goes on to say, and I quote, Javed Akhtar called me to his house. He said, if you do not say sorry to Hrithik Roshan, you will commit suicide.
Oh, also remember we mentioned earlier, Hrithik Roshan and Kangana Ranaut may or may not have been in a relationship.
Correct.
And that became a media spectacle all by itself. So just remember that as context for this.
Yes. So as soon as Kangana says this, even Arnab, who also says a lot of ridiculous things sometimes, heard this and went, "Hey."
You can actually see his face in that interview. It just goes like, what? It's like that shocked Pikachu face. Just like...
Yes. No, it's that one meme that goes, what did he say? So and then Kangana says it again, as this is what she was told apparently. If you do not say sorry to Hrithik Roshan, you will have to commit suicide because they will put you in jail. They have found all the clues, all the evidences. They know the case is completely in their hands. But what evidence? Have I committed theft? Did I take something from them? I said, what evidence are you talking about? What have I done? After this, she also added that when Javed Akhtar approached her, he asked her to tender a written apology to Hrithik Roshan. And then at this point, she just gets cut off by Arnab because he basically says, what if Javed Akhtar denies this?
Fair question.
Just like, aha, some good journalism there.
Gotcha.
To which Kangana says, we had witnesses. We had a common doctor who took me to his place, a common friend. I would see if they would want to help me through this, but I will not put any pressure. I think I can simply say what I can say, but I have to tomorrow prove in court. I have witnesses there. But obviously, I have not thought about it. But so Mahesh Bhatt.
Okay, you know what? As we're saying this, I understand it sounds really erratic.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how the interview goes.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is quite erratic. And then she just goes on and on for a bit, and essentially what she says, and I quote, Javed Akhtar has enough political connections to get away with pretty much anything in Mumbai, and Mahesh Bhatt is his best friend. The suicide gang was there. These people were bloodthirsty vultures.
Also, there's a moment in this interview where she disses Mahesh Bhatt's relationship with the late Parveen Bhabhi. She's an yesteryear actress. I think she said that Mahesh Bhatt is capitalizing on Parveen Bhabhi's death and making films about her. To which I have to say, Kangana, you were in a movie made by Mahesh Bhatt where you played Parveen Bhabhi. So what in the actual hell?
But yeah, anyway, she ends this rant by saying that the Mumbai police needs to question some more people about this case. That's the Sushant Singh Rajput case. And then Arnab asks the question, why aren't you sharing this information with Mumbai police yourself? Again, some good journalism there. To which she says, I want to share it publicly.
Oh, man. Okay, look, I don't want to be that person who disses Kangana for this. We've just sort of discussed where she was coming from, so you know what, just go watch the interview yourself. We don't want to say anything out of context, so your best bet is to watch the interview yourself And there's a reason we are quoting from the interview. The thing about defamation cases is they rest very heavily on the words and the context in which those words are used. So both of these are really important to understand the intent of the potentially defaming words that are spoken. Was it actually meant as a joke? Was it satire? Is it parody? Is it really meant to be defamatory? And the context of that is so important. So I would recommend you go watch this interview. Also, Kangana makes a lot of points that we can't really summarize in a 40-minute podcast. Also, there's a lot of rambling. So I would really recommend you, weed through that and sort of understand what she's trying to say.
Yeah.
But most importantly, I think there's a vulnerability to Kangana in this interview that I had not seen in a while. More lately, as you may all know, Kangana has taken a very sort of right-wing approach to her politics. She often inserts herself in situations where people were like, who asked you? But she's made it clear that her opinion will be heard. And you know what? Good on her for that. She has the right to do that. So I'm not stopping her in any way. But
she doesn't have the right to do that on Twitter anymore.
Oh, hectic. But this side of Kangana, the one that was, shunned from the film industry for talking about nepotism and, a consensual affair with a married co-star.
Yeah.
I can say that this Kangana effectively is a broken version of her. Because the thing is, especially in this interview, if it seems like she's coming from a place of malice, it's because she is. And it's malice that's born out of like fear and anger towards the industry, all of which are absolutely reasonable reactions to trauma, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And there's a section in this interview where Arnab, like when she tells Arnab, that she was feeling completely isolated in the industry.
Yeah.
And there's one quote that really hit me. She said, "The whole system will work to make me look like a mad person." And I feel her here. She isn't the first one to feel this way, and she won't be the last one to feel this way.
And I can also see it happening. Like, it is very possible because all of these people have such strong PR machineries. That's one thing. And then they have so much power, right? They can very easily be like, no, Kang, no. And then, and poor thing, she won't get anything.
No, I agree. And also sometimes, realistically, I don't know, it feels like if we had just, back in 2016, if someone had just given Kangana a hug or like a word of affection, like some sense of belonging in the industry, then we wouldn't have the Kangana of today. But it's too late. By the point that we reached this interview in July 2020, Kangana is already a little too late to save. And I think that's kind of on us. So yeah, this is a 58-minute interview, which taught us nothing. It's also an hour of my life that I will never get back. And I want all of you listeners to know, we did this for you.
Yes, we did. Because we love you.
Yes.
And on that wholesome note, let's take a quick break.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Cyrus Says, writer-director Suban Verma tells Cyrus what it was like co-directing Season 2 of The Family Man. In their new miniseries, Ek Sawal Kahi Jawab, the Pulyabazi hosts ask, how much should the government's tax income be? What's life like in your 40s? Actor Sikandar Khair talks to Ritasha and Ayushi on Agla Station Adulthood. On all things policy, the Takshashila folks shed light on a probable global treaty for pandemic management. And on Say No to Drama, Chetna explains how to give up on the stress of not finding solutions to our problems right away. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. We really do appreciate the word of mouth. Also, don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms that you're listening to us on, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is. And we are also on YouTube. On YouTube, you can check out our various channels on ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Bank of Baroda and CoinSwitch Kuber. Thank you for making this possible.
Welcome back from the break. We have gone into great detail about what Kangana has said. So let's move on to the next thing. How did Javed Akhtar react? He reacted by filing a police complaint. On 3rd November 2020, he filed a criminal complaint before a court in Andheri, Mumbai, alleging that her statements during the interview were defamatory. The court also didn't waste much time. In December 2020, it directed Mumbai police to investigate the matter at the earliest and submit the report before the court. And the police got on it.
I mean, honestly though, how much was there to investigate? You can find this interview like literally on the Republic TV YouTube page. That's all the evidence you need.
Yes, correct. Which is why a case was made pretty much immediately and the court went on to initiate criminal proceedings against her. However, Kangana did a bamboozle. In March 2021, she countered Javed Akhtar's claim by stating that Javed Akhtar was involved in extortion and criminal intimidation and had insulted her modesty.
Oh.
Basically, she went, "Me? No, you." She also asked that the case be transferred to another magistrate court. Speaking through her lawyer, Kangana said, "I am making a categorical statement that I have no faith in this court." The application also stated, "This court is threatening the accused on every date of issuing an arrest warrant without giving any sufficient cause and reason." The court didn't accept any of this and refused to transfer the case.
So for a while after this, Kangana attempted to delay the proceedings, and this pissed off Javed Akhtar quite a bit. So he relayed this in court. Actually, he outrightly said that her petitions and responses so far were purely filed to delay the court's observations in the matter. Also, Kangana just sort of stopped appearing before the court. She just stopped, like to the point that in September 2021, the court warned her that she may be arrested if she doesn't appear before them. So she does appear, only to ask for another transfer. So multiple times through the last quarter of 2021, in October, November, and December, multiple courts deliberated multiple times to say, "No, Kangana, we will not transfer this case."
Did the court also say, "Girl, can you just let it go already?"
The stenographer going like, "Girl."
With 4 L's.
And you know what? That actually is where we are at this case right now.
Yes.
She is not letting it go, the transferring bit at least. And you know what? I realized so much of this episode has just gone into discussing what happened as opposed to where this case was actually going. But I think that's okay, because it saves us the trouble of making a 2-parter episode just for this when we finally find out what happened later.
It also saves us the trouble of explaining all of this again when like the case is resolved, and then we can tell you exactly what went down in the court. Basically, this was Kangana Ranaut context setting.
Yes. Oh God, this is just one giant context episode.
Yeah. Hopefully, whenever this the case actually comes to its fruition, some blessed journalist somewhere will find all the filings made in the case and then just summarize it for us. Because honestly, after that interview where she's just like rambling, I'm not sure if we will ever want to go through the case files of anything that Kangana is involved in. Just ever again.
Yeah. Alternatively, we might find a better summary on the Bolly Blinds and Gossip subreddit.
Yes.
Dude, you know what? I'm not joking. The editors on that sub, they do a really good job, okay? To like, they sleuth around on social media and everything, and they look for some great Bollywood news. So I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, if you go right now and just type Kangana Ranaut Javed Akhtar in that subreddit, you might find a better explanation and timeline than we can ever give you. So please go do that.
Nah, I think we're cooler than that. But I would still like to rely on the court documents because also you have to read them because you are the lawyer, because court documents make no sense to me.
It's not that hard. We'll read them together, I'll tell you. It's not that stressful.
In any case, we will come back to this case later, hopefully in a couple of weeks.
That's right.
Yes.
On that note, even before this case is resolved, would you like to do a little summary, a musical recap, so to speak, of whatever we've discussed so far?
Let's do it.
Hey there, Kangana, it's been a while since we spoke. I know I had to let you go, but there were rules that you broke. Hey there, Kangana, do you see where it went wrong? 140 characters isn't too long, so here's your tweets in a song.
Caste system has been rejected by modern Indians. 23rd August 2020. Repeat after me. Depression is a consequence of drug abuse. Hashtag Deepika Padukone. 21st September 2020. Alexa, play Diamonds by Rihanna. 16th May 2019. Sit down, you fool. We're not selling our nation like you dummies. 2nd February 2021. In response to Rihanna. I have a record of never starting a fight. I will quit Twitter if anyone can prove otherwise. 17th September 2020.
Oh, it's how you send the tweet. Oh, it's how you send the tweet.
Account suspended. 4th May 2021. Hey, that was not defamation. I
tried, maybe.
You did try, I guess so. But that was a great song. And that kind of also brings us to the end of this episode.
Yay.
As usual, of course, guys, if you like us, which I'm hoping you do because you've reached the end of this episode, please go ahead and review us on Apple Podcasts and Audible. You can also review us on Spotify now, which is awesome. All our links are in our Instagram bios. And where can they find us, Nisha?
You can catch me on Instagram at just.nishful.thinking.
And me, also on Instagram, at the handle ragi.dose.
And you will find all of our sources in the, all the description of everything that we've spoken so far. It will be there in the description of this episode. Also, we have that little blog where you'll have all of the sources that we've used for this, including Bolly, blinds, and gossip.
That is correct.
And we will see you on the next episode of Misconduct.
See you guys.
Eventually, you'll see the end of your childhood,
Get accustomed to womanhood.
enjoy the experience of sisterhood,
Might get to wifehood
or not, choose motherhood,
or not. You'll learn to define your personhood.
earn a livelihood,
Change the neighborhood.
and get rid of the falsehood that life post-academia is easy.
So join me, Ritasha,
And me, Ayushi,
on a journey from station starting point.
to station, what now?
Next station, Pudin station, and hopefully, Agla station, adulthood.
Fresh episodes out every Thursday.
Are you looking for finance products and services that can enhance your personal finance experience? Are you looking for a space to talk about your financial product or service? And are you looking for a crisp talk show where the conversation is all about money? Well, your search ends here. Hi, my name is Anupam Gupta and I'm host of the Paisa Paisa podcast, and I invite you for the conversation about your personal finance on each Monday on the IVM Podcast app or the website or on any podcast streaming platforms. See you folks.